I
No,
think
you.
the most
Okay.
famous photo in the world.
Yeah, it is. It's one of them. So when it comes to billing, actually, let me do this. Here's the thing. Here's our standard nightmare dealing with being a lawyer, the dreaded timesheet. And the problem that I always see with timesheets is this: the amount of data that we have to put into this bloody thing. You know, we've got to put in the date that we did something, who we did it for, what matter. We've got to put in some description. And even with, you know, the most number of codes that I can come up with, like PCCs, phone call client, and then we still got to describe what were we talking about, and then the amount of time we spent. This for me has always been a very time-consuming and annoying part that drives me to actually not do my timesheets properly. And I've talked with several lawyers, and they seem to all have that same experience where you get off the phone call, you've been on the phone for 3 minutes with the client, and it's just too much trouble to actually write it down. And so we don't do it. And so we lose time. And that's what I'm talking about in terms of losing time, because it's billables that we're not capturing. And the goal really is for us to capture more time, because each tenth that we don't capture translates into a huge amount of money annually. So if we take just sort of like an average attorney rate of $400 an hour, each tenth of an hour that we're not billing is $40. If we do one a day that we're not billing, that's costing us $200. Each month, that's an $800, and annually, that's $9,600. Now, I'm willing to bet that every one of us probably drops a tenth of an hour that we don't capture each day.
Way more than that for me.
Okay. So when we go to way more than that, and we start looking at if it's an hour a day, we're losing $400 a day. It's $2,000 a week. It's $8,000 a month. It's almost $100,000 by not having a decent system to track our time and capture it.
Yeah, that's staggering. That's actually, I mean, it's so much more material looking at it like that.
It's scary, isn't it?
I mean, that's annualized. That can be life-changing. I mean, that can be the difference between, you know, one standard of living and the next.
Well, that's one kid's college education.
Yeah, and I got two.
Okay, so your line number 2 here. So the other problem that I've found is that even when I use a system like Time 59, which is a good, very flexible system, but for me, when I've got to go in, okay, so let's assume I just had a phone call with one of my clients. Now I've got to log into the website. Now I got to find the client, and I got to go down, and I got to enter time. And it's a little bit easier because it'll plug in the client, it'll plug in the date, it'll plug in my dollar amount. I put in my time, 0.2, who the timekeeper is, and then I just turn this into PCC Ray spousal. Boom. It's still a royal pain, frankly. And it's even harder if I'm trying to do it on my phone, because I can reach this technically from the internet browser on my phone, but it's a royal pain. So I was talking with one of you who came up with this great solution. And it was create an email account specifically for my billing. So what I did was I created an email address, dpbill@mensfamilylaw.com. And I created that entry in my phone and in my Microsoft Outlook on all my computers as a contact. So it just pops up automatically now. Every time I just start typing in DPBill or TPB, it automatically populates. And the beauty of this is because I always have my phone with me, and the mail app is always there. It's really super easy for me to just pop up an email. It's automatically dated. All I've got to do is go down to the subject line. I go DP bill, boom, subject line, Kelly, boom. Point 2, PCC Ray, spousal support, boom.
So Kelly would be, the subject matter is the client's name.
Correct. That's
All
the
right.
way I've got this set up. So that for me, I can go in here and I can pull up all the entries for Kelly. So they're all right here. And all I've got to do is highlight them and boom, hit print. And what it's going to do is print out a sheet that's going to look just like this with all of my time entries. It's got my date and time. It's got the time amount. It's got my description. And so now when I take this and I go back over to time 59 and I want to just start entering time, it's a lot faster because I can get everything all at one fell swoop. It's actually easier for me to batch my time entries when I'm doing my billing. And the thing that's great about this is like last week, I'm at a dinner, client calls me for whatever weird reason. I decided to pick up, had a 10-minute conversation with him. And all I've got to do is hang up, shoot off a quick email to dpbill@mensfamilylaw.com. Boom. My billing is there. At least it's recorded someplace. I'm not going to put it on a little yellow sticky that I'm going to lose, or I'm going to put it on the back of a matchbook someplace. And those old days when we still had matchbooks, right? I mean, we've all done this. You've been in a bar, you answer the phone, you take the notes, you write it on the napkin, you take the napkin, stick it in your pocket, take your pants off, it goes in the laundry. The next day you're pulling it out, trying to figure out like, okay, who did I talk to and what did I spend? This is just so much better and so much easier. And here's the difference, and here's what it's done for me. So one of my clients I did a bunch of work for, and normally I would have billed him probably about $1,500 because I would have thought, you know what, that's fair. The amount of work I did, that's a fair number. But when I actually went back and I looked at all of the time entries I actually captured with my email system, it was $4,000.
Wow.
I would have cheated myself out of $2,500 just because I wanted to be fair. And here was my experience. I sent the client the bill and I got a check.
It's a good experience.
He didn't come back and be like, no, I want you to justify every one of these. He was like, can I pay you by PayPal? I'm like, sure. I'm good with PayPal. Bring it on.
I have a couple comments I want to make. I think the nice thing about the email is they capture the time, you know, the exact time you've made the entry. And if you could translate that into this billing, you know, it's very legitimate, you know, the actual minutes and time.
Right.
But when I create my own bills, which I know I should, you know, you told me I shouldn't be doing that, David. My descriptions are much longer. I wouldn't put PPC race summer. I'd probably put a longer description, which may or may not hurt me. What do you think about that?
Okay, so on here, when I'm looking at like my PCC Ray Summer, that's my internal description. So when I type in, let me go over to this one. When I go into like this time entry, remember I typed in PCC Ray Spousal.
Right.
So time 59 automatically takes my PCC and it automatically expands it to telephone call with client. And that's what the client is going to see. And then all I'm having to do is type in the actual topic. So one of the nice things, Randy, about having a system like Time 59 or Bill for Time is you can come up with codes and your codes will automatically expand. So rather than having to type out telephone call with client every time, all I've got to do is type in PCC and it'll automatically create it in there. Does that make sense?
How do you, yes. So you create your own codes that expand and you sort of tell the program PCC means telephone call and
correct.
PM means email. You sort of set that up and you tell Time 59, this is what these mean.
Correct.
Okay. How do you, just a sense of how you do this, how do you enter your emails into Time 59?
Okay, so I will go and I will sort by my client. So like, let's say I want to run a bill for Kelly. All I've got to do is in the subject area, I can sort by and bring up just those emails. I can do a search,
Right.
and then I highlight them on my email server, and I just hit print. And what it does is it creates a sheet for me that's going to have every one of those time entries on one sheet with all of the information I need that I can then just plug into Time 59. And instead of this taking me forever, it's going to take me 5 minutes rather than 5 minutes for each one of these. I just think it's a much easier way.
Yeah.
Because I'm batching, I'm doing things in batches. And most importantly, I'm capturing my time. And that's the most important part.
One thing I've done when I haven't, well, I've been, as you know, I create all my own bills and that's really time consuming. But one thing I do, if I don't keep track of my time, I'll go in and do a search for the client under just that person's name. And then I'll see, like, for instance, all the emails I sent.
Right.
And I can gauge how long it took me to do each email. You know, it's just.
But even if you're gauging, I mean, you're still going to lose time.
Yeah.
And it's more time consuming to do it that way when you have to go back and recreate. And we've all done it. I mean, I'm guilty of like probably every client in the last 4 years, I've had to go back and recreate time. That in and of itself is a time suck.
Oh, I know. It took me a couple hours.
And the other thing is that for me is I hate doing it. So I procrastinate about doing it and I put it off, and then that impacts cash flow. And then it's just like, oh, and then I finally have to do it. And it's like, you know what? If I can just find an easier way, and I did, thanks to Will.
But when you do it this way and you have the emails, are you capturing the actual time you spent talking on the phone to Kelly or sending Kelly an email?
Absolutely, because as soon as I'm done, all I've got to do is shoot a quick email.
Okay,
I just have to pick up, all I have to do is pick this up.
15 minutes or 8 minutes? I mean, that's what I'm trying to get at. How do you know how long it was?
Oh, because each time I'm on the phone with the client here, it'll tell me how long I've been on the phone with them.
Oh.
You know, if here's one. So this is a client I was on the phone with, and you can see it'll tell you how many minutes I was on the phone with them.
Oh, you have to make that bigger, or I have to. Okay.
Well, you may need a bigger screen, but it's all right there. It's on your phone. And all I've got to do is then open up a new email from this, type in DP.
Okay, got
DP
it.
billing pops up. Boom, I'm ready to go. And in the space of, I'm going to say 10 seconds, I've now captured that $40 or $50 or $150 that I would have lost.
So if you use Time 59 here. If we used a different program such as Bill for Time, we could still print up a sheet and insert it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
All right.
Are we done for the day?
I don't know. Will, you got a question?
Well, I had one point and one comment and one question. The comment was more along the lines of this is not a preferred, not what you're talking about, but what I'm about to say is not a preferred way to do it. But when you're trying to recreate, and I'm probably the worst case of this, but I guess everybody to some degree has to do this at times. When you're going back to recreate what time you spent on what over the past X number of weeks, whatever it is, I came up with kind of a batch of source material that I use to check, which also does increase how painful it is and how much time it takes, which also, like David said, makes me want to procrastinate doing it and impact cash flow. But I will say one very good place in terms of source material that is, take it to the bank, is if you don't know how long you spent on your phone call, go to your phone bill. I mean, your phone
Yeah.
company, your cell phone company has all of those records to the minute. And even if they don't charge you by the minute, even if you're on an unlimited plan, they have a report that you can run in their bill, which is by phone number. You can even assign in their system names to the phone number and run the thing as every time I call David Pissarro, this is his number, or these are his 3 different numbers, and these are the minutes. So I know that for this client, I spent 63 minutes on this day on the phone with them. Now, maybe 5 minutes of it I was BSing, but I know I've got 45 minutes of billable time or an hour of billable time, whatever it is.
Right.
And that's a good source for finding lost time. When
you got to wait till your phone bill comes out before you do that.
Well, actually, I don't think you may, but I don't know that you do. I know, for one thing, I'm probably delayed billing, till past when the next phone bill comes in.
You're running 45, 60 days behind on your billing anyways.
Yeah, but whatever it is, I'm going to the website where I pay my phone. I'm going to AT&T or Verizon, and they have the statement online. I just download the statement and print it out. They have a feature where you can export it into Excel or another spreadsheet. You can download the entire thing. That'll have the phone number, the time, how long, the time of day, the date, and how long the phone call was. So it's just another piece of source information that I would look at if you're reconstructing time. Again, not your best case scenario. If you can do it contemporaneously, you're much better off and you're much more accurate with your time. And then you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about recreating your time because you're doing it when you do the time. That's ideal.
When I was in law school, when I was in college, I worked for Bruce Bariano. He was the top lobbyist in the state of Maryland. He billed $1 million in the 13 weeks of the legislative session. My job was to go through and to bill out each one of those phone calls on his phone bill. Because he would bill not only the time, but this is so long ago, they would actually charge you per call. The actual cost of the phone call itself,
the expense,
0.75 cents, would get billed to the client. Oh, God, bad memories.
I do think that a conversation we may want to visit on another day that I'd be interested in discussing more with you two is alternative fee arrangements where we're not billing by time, but billing by value.
Right.
Where your comment about, I know that 1,500 is fair. I'm probably cheating myself, but it's absolutely defensible. And it's clear that the client has gotten at least that much value. Right. Then you went back and saw that it was 4,000. I mean, that's a huge difference.
It is.
And then, I mean, some of the value billing or alternative fee arrangement idea is you're not limited by the amount of time that you're working. Your value isn't tied specifically to the amount of time that you spend, which for solos really allows you to grow exponentially.
Sure. Yeah, we could definitely have that conversation. I'd be happy to have that with you.
And I have a question. When I never bill for time I spend thinking of something, but sometimes I'll spend a half hour thinking of a case and what I need to do, and then how I need to organize it. How do you bill for that? Because I do think that's billable if you're thinking about someone, right?
That is work. I mean,
how would you bill that, Will?
I would probably bill it as strategy or file review or, I mean, I would usually do it as one of those two, I think.
Yeah, it's exactly. And I might throw in research, case review, case status, file review, all of that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's totally billable. It's totally appropriate.
Yeah,
I mean, I go out for a bike ride and I'll be, listening to some music, and all of a sudden, like, the client's case will pop in, and that will be the key that will let me win. And it's like, client's paying for that one way or another. I don't care what I was doing.
I've been losing all that, so I'm going to start billing for that.
Okay, you need to start using your iPhone. You need to set up a separate email account specifically for your billing. I don't care whether it's a Yahoo account, a Gmail account, whether it's, RK-billing at lafamilyattorney.com, whatever. But set up a separate account, set up the contact in your phone, set up the contact in your desktop, and start tracking your time. and you will be amazed at how much more money you will make at the end of the month.
Well, like this case that I just got out of, I only had a certain amount of money in the trust account, and my fees went over that, and I know I'm going to have to go through a big battle to get what's owed to me.
Then if you're going to have to go through a battle to get that money, you should get every dime that you're entitled to.
True.
Real simple. You know, because remember, you know, in family law, we walk away from 30% anyways. So why not just capture everything and make that 30% a smaller piece?
Capture everything.
All right, I'm going to turn the recording off because that's my spiel for the day.